All right. Our next speaker is Rodrigo Coelho. Rodrigo is the head of product on Iron Mountain's incubation team, bringing over 18 years of experience developing innovative technology-driven products across startups and enterprise ventures. He currently leads the product development of Iron Mountain AMP and Iron Verify, solutions that empower customers to curate, find, and create unique, meaningful, and verifiable digital assets within exclusive storefronts or marketplaces backed by Iron Mountain's trusted proof of authenticity and ownership. For the past 5 years, Rodrigo has focused extensively on media and archival services, exploring innovative methods to broaden archive accessibility and creating new monetization opportunities. Please welcome Rodrigo. Thank you.
To the next slide. So thank you so much, Chris. For me, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm very cognizant that I'm the last barrier between you and lunch, so I'm going to try to make this presentation as enjoyable as possible. All right, so my name is Rodrigo. I was hired by Iron Mountain in 2018, and since the beginning, my goal was, I was tasked with developing technologies, embedding technologies into new products, and AI, Abigail, right? So it was on the table since day one. I love their presentation. I'm going to be making some reference to your presentation. And the first one is, there's use of AI for some of those images, right? So in the responsible way of using AI, there's use of AI for some of those images. So perfect. I want to take you through this journey. I'm not going to talk specifically about any product. I just want to share some of the learnings, right? So we've been learning since the day I started researching and developing this technology to embed that into our products. We made a lot of strides. We made a lot of strides into document understanding, and I would love to share this more with you. We also made strides into physical archives, right? So how we can take pictures of the archive, try to extract information so you can understand what you have in the physical archive. But today I'm going to be talking, of course, about the digital, about what we've been doing for DAMs, and what we've learned so far. Not about any specific product, I just want to share what we've learned and thoughts. I broke down my presentation in 3 steps. The first step starts in 2019 because I was here in 2019 in this very same room, and I did a presentation for DAS to talk about AI. So here I am again to talk about this, and it's very cool that that happened because in 2019, right? So we were going through the wave. Some people have been calling this the first wave of AI, first wave of modern AI, which is the machine learning wave. So I was here talking about this. I'm going to share some of the same slides that I used back then, and you're going to see that they still ring very much true. Then I want to reflect a little bit about everything that we've learned since then. We had a sea change in November of 2022, and now we've been trying to learn and experiment and adapt, right, on how we can use this new wave of technology, the Gen AI wave. And for 2031, I want to share a few principles. Of course, nobody knows how 2031 is going to look like, right? So, but it's more like sharing a few thoughts of a few principles on how we can prepare for the future of this. There's probably a third big wave coming very soon, right? So everybody's probably heard of agentic AI, autonomous AI. So this wave is around the corner. So I want to share some thoughts on that. Perfect. So about the first wave, this is where everything started for me and for Iron Mountain, right? So in 2017, there was a big change in the market. Everybody cared only about mobile first, let's develop everything for mobile. And Google made this shift from going to mobile to AI first. And the same kind of AI race that we're seeing now, we saw in 2017. We embarked in this journey, and this is where everything started, right? So, and we've been, Iron Mountain, we have been in the front, developing this technology with big partners like Google and others. So everything that I'm sharing here, I saw firsthand. I do product. I work with many of those product people developing, pushing this technology forward. Perfect. Specifically for them, specifically for media and archival services, since day one, for all the conversations that I had with people like you, the feedback was, it's hard to find stuff in my archive, right? So it's really hard to go there. We have too many files. We have too many videos, right? So it's really, I wish I could find something here when I need it. And I wish everybody could do that, right? So I wish people stopped calling me to find stuff for them, and I wish they could just go there and find what they need. So starting with this principle, we made a very obvious conclusion, right? So as obvious as it gets, the conclusion was we needed a powerful AI engine to create as much metadata as possible, and that first wave, machine learning, right? So we had to train models, we used pre-trained models, we used everything that was available to go through a lot of data and create metadata. So the first step was all about metadata. Is that metadata perfect, to Abigail's point? No, far from that, right? But you're going to see that the last mile is always be the user, right? So this is just to help. Doesn't have to be perfect, but at least you can use this to filter somehow down the data so you can make a decision with 10 assets instead of thousands. And the second piece, which was kind of underrated at the time, is the user experience, the UI, right? So everybody was saying AI is going to solve all your problems. People still say this today, but don't underestimate the importance of how you're going to leverage this, because it's not going to be perfect, right? So how you can absorb all this metadata, how you can make this to make sense to your user so they can make educated decisions. So that was the conclusion, as obvious as that. And we started with this concept of AI and ML powered dams. We saw this in the industry. We saw a lot of my peers were doing the same. So, and the message with this weird image, the message for the industry, the message that we started convey to our customers were, you know, AI is great. It's a great tool, right? So, but we need user experience to improve that, right? So, for example, AI generates a lot of metadata, and some of this metadata is just not accurate, right? So how we can allow the user to fine-tune this, right? To work with only metadata that is above 95% of accuracy, or just to see in a way that I can quickly distinguish, this is good, this is not good, I can use this, I'm not going to use that. So I love, Abigail, when you said that maybe the UX people would help with that, because we've been doing this since 2019. Right? So this slide was exactly the same slide that I used in 2019, and from day one, we realized it's a combination of UX and AI. And I'm happy, I only have 10 or 15 minutes, I'm not sure, so I'm gonna go through a bunch of concepts here, so please reach out, right? So you're gonna see my email in the end. I'm happy to go deeper in any of those topics. So, and my job, right? So my job to be done became how we can use this engine, filter by UX, right? So everything starts with the engine, bunch of metadata, some is correct, some is not, filter by the UX, but having the user as the last mile, right? My goal became, every time that we worked, and my team's goal is how we can make the power user, curator, an archivist, a digital asset manager like many of you, how we can make you to become a super curator, right? So if you had information about your assets, and if you have a user experience that would allow you to navigate this in a smart way, how we can make you to be the super curator. And especially now, because what we've learned after that is it's a super curator, but it demands superpowers. So for example, many of you probably when you're using your dams, you are very good at hacking your way through it to find assets, right? So you know how to combine some filters, you know how to use quotes, you know how to use ands and ors, right? So there's a lot of tricks that you have on your luggage, right? So for you to do this. The next way for us is how can the users do this in a natural way? So we're going to be talking a little bit about this. So the first wave, the goal was all about how to create users into super users, super creators. Now, we had a huge fork on the road here in November of 2022. Does anyone know here what happened in November of 2022? There you go. There you go, David. Well done. So ChatGPT happened, and is ChatGPT solving all the problems? Far from it, right? Far from it. But at least, and by the way, I love the snake oil example, right? So hence the image here, right? So it has a strong parallel with snake oil, but I think my message is, it became even stronger, right? So, and behind, I'm not sure, can I go back? I can. Behind this screen here, which I think is a terrible user experience, by the way, right? So as we move forward, this user experience will get better. But behind this user experience, there's a lot of technology here, right? So there's a lot of breakthroughs that happened. The technology is even more powerful than we were when we started. The concepts of transformers, the concept of understanding the images, understanding video, and even generating that, that's very powerful. But is it a snake oil, right? So, or can we make this helpful? I have a very optimistic vision about this. So the way I see is, first of all, at least it's more powerful to find stuff than it was before, right? So as I said, a bunch of breakthroughs. The technology today is better than it was 5 years ago, and it's only getting better. I started using this in 2022, and I can see, and I can attest to you firsthand, it's improving in a weekly basis. So it's more powerful than we had before. The third bullet is, the second one I'm going to skip, because it can generate content, but it generates a bunch of BS as well, right? So there are ways for us to manage this, but I'm going to jump to the third one, which is, it allows us to do more conversations with the assets, right? So a very close friend of mine, she used to say that in her archive, every single asset has a story to tell, and this is beautiful. And I took this for life, and yeah, so it's up to us to allow those assets to tell that stories, right? So if we can somehow create ways to talk to our assets, we need to leverage that. Another important item for adoption that we're right now experimenting with. The other day I listened to Chris, your podcast, Damn Right? So shameless plug here to Chris. I listened to an episode talking about the forecast, and you talked about portals, right? So how you can create a step further for your DAM, right? To create access to your users, external users. And we also believe very much on that. And the use of this technology also help us with Upstart, right? So if we can have some of this data available for you to create those portals, right? To personalize some of this content for specific users, we need to leverage that. From super creators, the message that I gave in 2019 was, we need to become super creators, right? So we need to find ways to find our assets. The message now is, from super creators, we need to unlock those stories, right? So we need to find ways to unlock those stories, push for monetization, and do more for our assets, right? The last part of my deck, I think I'm over time here. The last slide that I have is, how can we prepare for 2031? Right? So first of all, I have no idea, right? So, but we can start with a few principles, and the principles that I have here that I want to share is, we need to embrace it. It's not perfect. It makes mistakes, right? So, but the more you use, the more you're gonna find good use for it, right? So we've been using this for months, and we have weeks that we say to each other, man, this is cool, right? So how we can leverage this more for other industries, for other customers. So my first message is, if it's perfect or not, if we're gonna use partners or not, embrace it. The second message is specifically for this audience, this agentic AI will come. If we want or not, regardless if we want this or not, this will come. And those agents, they're gonna only be good as the data is, right? And we know how to handle data, right? So what I've learned, and I'm gonna say in first person here because I've been working in this industry for the last 5 years, you guys know how to prepare data. You understand taxonomy, you understand how to structure data. This is gonna be super helpful for agents. And by agents is you break your workflow in micro tasks, and you have an AI to autonomously do that. If the data is not correct, it's going to be a disaster. So not only for the archives, but for the business, I think the brain power that is here in this room can help the business with that. And my last message, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because a lot of people are talking about this, and we're going to see the folks from Adobe to talk about C2PA later today. We've been paying very close attention to C2PA. We need to double down on authenticity, right? So we've done our own. We called Iron Verify to help to see how we can make sure that the asset that is in the dam, I have all the provenance from this asset. But yeah, it's going to be our job to protect, right? So how are we going to look back in the future, right? So in the same way we can create a lot of stories, we need to create authentic stories, right? So we can't just make stuff up. So how we're going to be protecting this, it's going to be up to us. This is my email. I threw a bunch of stuff at you, so please reach out to me, or you can talk to me during the break. I'm happy to go deeper in any of those topics. Thank you, Chris.